Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order. It is January the 13th. Civil Service Commission is now approximately 2:02 p.m. I'll begin with the land acknowledgement and following with introductions, the land acknowledgement. Today, I would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the first people of Seattle, the Warmish people, both past and present, in honor of gratitude, the land itself, and the Warmish tribe. We are here to do the work of the Seattle Civil Service Commission, whose responsibility is to ensure that Seattle's city's workforce reflects the shared values of its community, respect for the indigenous people, and committed to holding each other accountable. Next order of business, introductions. I'll start with myself, Ray Caesar, Chair of the Commission.
Denise Wells, Commissioner.
I'm Andrea Shealy. I'm the Executive Director of the Civil Service Commission.
Sarah Butler, Operations and Policy Advisor.
Teresa Jacobs, Executive Assistant.
Joe Levan, the City Attorney's Office, Legal Counsel for the Commission.
Ann Vold, City Attorney's Office, also legal counsel to the Commission.
Anyone else? Hearing none. Next order of business is public comments. Do we have any public comments scheduled?
None in writing or in person.
Hearing no public comments. The next order of business is approval of the minutes that was provided as of the last meeting minutes were on December the 16th of 2024 and distributed to the commissioners. Hope you all read it.
Yes.
It's in order that approval of minutes. Motion to approve.
Second motion.
Motion has been, the motion to approve the minutes has been made. All those in favor say aye. Minutes is approved. As distributed, no corrections. Sign all. Other action items, let's see, at the last meeting, we postponed to review the meeting dates in the current calendar year of 2025. They have been sent out for review, and are there any corrections or changes?
I think we have to decide what days we're gonna do. The October and November meeting?
Well, the meeting dates were changed or proposed for the second Monday due to commissioners' availability and the use of this room by the Public Safety Exams Unit. So given that Commissioner Weidman Williams is not here, although we have a quorum, I can't make a motion, but I would suggest that we look at either the February meeting or staff get back to the commissioners on scheduling the February meeting and then tabling this until February.
Was she the one who said,
She just wanted it to be the same day every month, it sounds like.
yeah, I think she was okay with moving it to the second
Okay,
week.
okay. The question is that in October, there's a conflict, right?
Yeah,
The second week.
I would like just to have some certainty and to be able to publish it on our website. Why don't we just, I would suggest the commission consider and if they're able to agree upon a schedule, and then we can reschedule month by month if needed, and those will just be a special meeting. Just to have that body of work behind us.
Okay. I agree. That works for me.
So it's been presented proposed dates, and October the 13th is pretty open. I'm not sure. I think it's October and November. We picked two dates and a date just to confirm that, and then we can always change it at a later time. there's some open dates there.
Yeah, it looks like the 13th is a day, is Indigenous Peoples' Day, so that's not a work day.
So it looks like we have to do either the 6th or the 27th in October.
Right.
So I would prefer the 6th.
I'm okay with that. My schedule is open. What about you?
Yeah.
Sure.
Looks good.
The sixth?
Yeah.
And November the 10th.
So Teresa, correct me if I'm wrong, but the CSC could have its regularly, expected meeting on the 10th, or we could pick, you're gonna have to have a joint meeting in November with the Public Safety Civil Service Commission. We did it on a Thursday in 2024, right? Well, you all get to have it on your regular day or whatever day you guys get to pick in 2025 then.
So the date here is scheduled for the 10th, proposed the 10th.
The only real limitation we should probably look at is Applegate's, Commissioner Applegate's schedule, since he's a firefighter and can easily.
Commissioner Mays. Because it.
Oh, Commissioner Mays.
Yeah.
You know, I'll stop talking because you know more about this than I do. Will you help us?
So November 10th would be the regularly scheduled CSC meeting.
Right.
You have canceled that because you were coming for the joint meeting on Thursday and because of limited business. So you can still hold your November 10th meeting and then decide on having the joint meeting with PSCSC on the 19th, 20th, and 21st. Or 21st. Right now, PSCSC, they're kind of in flux because they've got a new commissioner, a new schedule. Is different than what they currently have as far as holding their meeting on the third Thursday.
Well, I would recommend that we keep November 10th meeting, as we don't really know what the year is gonna look like. We might have some business we need to address. So how about we keep it and cancel it later if we decide we don't need it?
And then perhaps we can propose the November joint meeting
Whenever it works.
with PSCSC on a Thursday.
On a
So
Thursday.
it's still
Time
follow up
comes.
with their meeting date. Yes.
Or we could have it on the same day. Or cancel our meeting. And have it on the
Oh,
same
would they
day.
want to move their?
Oh,
meeting
you
to the
want,
same
oh, you would
day?
consider
Actually,
having
we
your
could-
CSC meeting on that third Thursday?
On that
Oh, yeah.
I mean, an alternative, we can still keep it as the 10th, and then when as we close it to that date, additional license, we can discuss that in the future, whether or not we want to cancel it later on.
Sure.
So we're just gonna stick with the 10th for now.
Okay.
So with the proposed schedule, the only difference would be October 6th instead of October 13th, and then otherwise it's all ones in green.
Right.
No, so that, just so we're clear, that's, you'd be adopting the regular meeting schedule for the year. And then if you want to cancel any of those, you can. You can always schedule special meetings also, if you need to.
And right now, there are a few that will happen in the boards and commissions room in City Hall.
Oh, that's what that stands for?
Yes.
The commission?
But if anything changes with the availability of this room, we'll let you know in advance.
I see. That's
You might just remind us.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah.
Allowing somebody in Hall's being there next month today.
Yeah, yeah.
Commissioner Caesar, have you ever been to the boards and commissioners?
I don't think I have.
It's down in the basement, City
Oh,
Hall.
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a little tricky to get to, but we'll give you real clear directions, but it's in City Hall.
On the same floor as the parking garage.
It's a nice room.
Sounds like. Okay, any further changes to the scheduled meetings for the calendar year 2025? Hearing none, is there an order for adoption, for a motion to adopt?
I second the motion.
Motion to adopt the meeting minutes for the year 2025,
Meeting schedule,
the meeting
the
schedule,
regular meeting schedule.
the regular meeting schedule for the Civil Service Commission meetings for 2025. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Guys have it. And the meeting schedule for the Civil Service Commission for 2025 is done.
Yay, thank you.
See, updates, I guess we get one from Executive Director.
Yeah, I'll hand it over to Sarah Butler to give us an update on outreach.
Hello, so I'll talk a little bit about goals for outreach in 2025. I know we talked a little bit about this last year, and I'm not sure, Denise, if you were with us then. So I am lead on outreach for this department, and the purpose of that is really around education and awareness to employees, because we cannot have an effective civil service system if employees are not aware of their rights and understand the system generally. I see as we have kind of two paths for outreach currently, and one is digital, and the other one is kind of more in person, or at least synchronous if we're meeting on a Teams platform or something. So on the digital side, we have LinkedIn, which is about a year old now, and thanks to Dave Wright on SDHR, has been really great, sort of coaching me along on how to work with that. We do have some followers, not many, but this is an area I'd like to grow, and I'm looking for opportunities for content to put on there, and also looking for opportunities to share. So I do encourage you all to share what you see on there with folks as it comes through. And then the other digital platform we have, of course, is our website. And in 2024, did kind of a refresh, reorganized a lot of information on there. It is looking better. I do want to continue updating it into 2025. And it does look like there is an opportunity with IT. I've also been kind of in the back of my mind thinking about sort of a bigger overhaul of it, and having it, I mean, there's like, if you've looked around at the websites across the city, there's a lot of capacity for dynamic things that you can put on a website just to make it more usable. And it does look like there's an opportunity as IT goes through and does some updates to other boards and commissions of the city to be included in that. So I have been planning on how to organize it, just so we can make the best use of it. And I'm hoping to work with them probably more mid-year once I have some of the other content updated to undergo that bigger transformation.
Do you have anything about that's on the current website that you want to highlight for these commissioners? Would you mind if we put it up here and just kind of talk them through some of the stuff that has happened this year? Teresa, would you mind pulling up the Civil Service Commission website? Sharing it on your screen. Improvising a little bit. I think you just need to credit. I think you just need to open up, click on your browser down there below.
Where?
That little swirly blue and green thing. Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm asking you to do things on the fly. Just Seattle, just type Seattle. Okay, is it on your screen to share now?
No, I don't think so.
I think you just click on that little arrow next to the red box. Don't click on the red box. There you go. Little arrow pointing up.
Oh, here.
No. Go left.
The black arrow.
Black arrow.
Black button.
Next
Next
to
to
the
the red phone,
Yeah, next.
right there.
Nope, way down.
There you go.
Okay, great. All right, so here's the website. Guiding principles and values. I know Mary was here for that exercise. Along the left side is a navigation bar. We did consolidate the meetings information was on 2 different tabs. That's been consolidated to one.
I would like to do some more work around appeals. There's a lot of information there, but I want to organize it a little bit more. And I also want to draw out local patronage just because it is a line of part of the scope of this commission that should be elevated. Laws, rules, and policies are there. That's been organized a little bit more. So the new website will have navigation across the top, which is nice because then from that drop downs come. So it's a bit more expansive and easier to navigate. I think you can pack a lot more things in there and it's easier to get around for the user.
Are you able to get any kind of analysis in each month to show you how many people are visiting this website?
So we do have analytics. I've been poking around on it. It's something I'm learning how to do. I did get a sense of where people are going more versus others. And interestingly enough, of course, they're landing on the homepage. They're going to news and updates and the meetings. They're not really poking around at all on the appeals website, which I find curious.
And so I'm kind of talking a little bit about too, kind of reframing, not just about appeals, but more about rights, more of an employee-centered framing. Certainly, we want people to know what our appeals processes are and the requirements, because those are pretty strict, very strict. But you know, I just think it'd be nice for, especially if people land here, they might be searching for what their rights are. We don't have the opportunity very often to talk to employees about it. And this would be a place to do that.
Yeah, I find that a lot of people don't know about the Civil Service Commission.
Totally.
But I imagine if they're going through some sort of disciplinary process, that the HR department is telling them about they're informed about it at that time.
They are informed about it when they receive the discipline. I mean, I think your best practice for an HR practitioner would be talking about before the discipline happens. So I bet that's happening in a lot of places.
And they seem to be navigating there from SharePoint, which makes sense because that's internal. So.
Yeah, that does make sense.
So, unless you have any other questions around the website, I shift over to.
Always not an easy task necessarily.
I'm learning CMS and working closely with IT.
Mm-hmm.
They switch things up on us.
They do. They do. Yeah. So, kind of the other way we reach out to employees is kind of more not in person, but synchronous in real time with employees and with other people across the city. Last year, I met with 3 departments. I met with 3 different HR groups for 3 very different departments, and it was great making connections. I struggled to get a foothold of like how to get with employees, especially employees that are very operational. They can maybe do 15 minutes stand up as they're doing 9/11 dispatch, or it's not. I'm still struggling with the best way to get in front of them. And for 2025, though, one department has reached out to me and would like me to present to employees probably twice this year. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's, I think, a little more conducive to meeting with a lot of folks and having some more time to go through. So I'm kind of playing through, maybe it makes sense to get in front of employees for 15 minutes, but if our website is up and we have a video there, they can go a little bit deeper, but it's just kind of getting in front of employees and getting their attention. Yeah, kind of sort of high level who we are and how we're available.
I think the work and the way we work in the city of Seattle has been so in crisis mode for the past 4 years, 5 years, that now we're maybe getting back to something a little bit more normal. So departments were not necessarily prioritizing getting us in front of their employees when they were just figuring out how employees could work safely, return to office mandates, everything has just been sort of on fire all the time. And now that things are sort of evening out and settling out, I think there's going to be, I know, and especially for our department, there's going to be more effort and energy and resources to do this outreach to employees. So I'm really excited. have us get back to that. But we welcome both of your ideas because you're a very recent employee and long-term employee and you're a long-term current employee. So you all know, especially for your two departments, but probably for lots of departments, how to reach people or ways that you were able to get information during your time as an employee or manager.
Well, I know at Seattle Center, I think that they're come to our all staff meetings sometimes and done a few things, haven't you?
Yeah, we did.
We did for the election.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's always a good way at Seattle Center to, I think they're still doing those all staff meetings.
I know. Seattle Center does such a good job of gathering its employees together.
Yeah, I would like to think Seattle City Light does a lot in that department, and a lot around race and social justice stuff, and bringing people in. A lot to do with personal health and getting along with people, stuff like that. Real soft subjects, not more or less rights per se.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there's a doorkeeper on that board.
Well, maybe you can help us navigate Seattle City Light. That is a department that we've not really been able to crack into very much. Because it's a little, it's siloed from a lot of the other departments.
Yes, it's very tough to get in. Of course, we got a satellite office, north and south. We got the dams.
Yeah.
Way out there in the boat docks, I guess it's good.
Yeah.
Good term to use. And trying to control water and electricity is a high priority. And I would think that a lot of people find it irrelevant, especially with the times that we have these days. My experience has always been that I think we have a mature workforce, college background experience. Not many people fresh out of high school really get jobs at the city. But the information and understanding the information, how is it useful? And my experience has been, because I was with the union and dealing with employees when they get to a point of having to deal with an issue. I always thought of the Civil Service Commission as the last resort. But they never really got to that point unless a employee just decides to go and accept whatever is dealt between the process of going through the union or going through other means.
Yeah.
Falling short of the civil service as far as.
Although it's not necessarily the last road, because if you go through the union and you grieve it, you can't go to the civil service.
Right. And so explaining that and saying, hey, you can do that. And it just depends on because I guess being part of the union is also like a doorkeeper in a lot of ways. And people are kind of sure about their rights, or are they being fairly treated at that level sometimes. But
well, I'm just curious to know in the training that you provide, is there clarification on the advantage of doing one over the other? More than just a person's comfort level. If you're not comfortable with the union, you have this option. Is there, I don't know if there is advantage to employees to using their union versus civil service. I know people who aren't union only have civil service as an option, but what about the people who have two? Is that part of the training as what's the difference? What's the difference between the two?
I think that's how we would do it. That's right. Because we can't really be like,
no,
your grievance process.
But I mean, but people would want to know what does that mean to me?
Yeah.
Doing this versus doing that.
Yeah, I can't remember if our training has that specifically in there, but we do talk about them as alternatives. The differences that I can think of are, one is public, one is private. One is, if your union we are available if your union does not want to grieve. They are only available if they agree that they also want to grieve it on behalf of the union. You may or may not get a decision more quickly. And also you can look at our case precedent. And if you prefer, those kinds of outcomes or outcomes, that align with those precedent, then you might want to choose us. We stay, you would know, we stay really far away from speaking about the union process because we're really not authorized or it wouldn't be appropriate for us to do that. So we mostly just stick to talking about our process.
Yeah, what you offer.
So if you just inquire with the union about it, recommend a certain subject and whether or not they decide, is actually petitioning the union actually the representative following a claim for you. If that is not done, if you're just talking mode, you can still go from one place to another. If you,
Yeah, well, it's, I mean, I don't think that employees have they have two choices, but it's probably a very difficult choice if they're even aware that they have both the choices and want to pursue it. Because we have, civil service has an exhaustion requirement. You have to go to the Department of Seattle Human Resources and file a grievance with them. So we use the same terminology, unfortunately. And they hear it just like a step 3 grievance. And then once you've done that, you can't go back to your union grievance process. So people need to, I mean, I think outreach is really key, and I'm so glad we can do more of that because people need to know about it in advance, essentially in advance of receiving the discipline. And although departments are required and do, you know, we have good compliance on this, notified employees at the time of the discipline. At that point, you've got 20 days to make your decision. I don't know what the timelines are for grievance filing. They're probably all different and in the collective bargaining agreement. But you know, employees by that point are like high stress environment, they're receiving serious discipline, you know, educating people before it happens is really the ideal scenario. And people don't want to hear about discipline if they're not in the, you know, they're new employees. They're like, what are you talking about discipline? So, you know, these are just puzzles for us to solve. And I really appreciate both of your insights. I think it's really, really good. I bet we can crack this net. We put our heads together.
so there's a step 3 in the human services department.
In the human resources
Human
department, yeah.
resources. So the step 3, step 4, step 5, or is it?
No, it's just, they call it the employee grievance process. And it is just the one step and then they get a.
Well, there's 3 steps.
Oh, yeah,
It-
that's
it
true.
may
That's true.
Originate at step 1, the employee might file at step 3 and then it's remanded over to everyone agrees to the appropriate step or 2 for that.
And then, the step 3, and then after that is the. will be the step-
Yeah, so the
they
human
disagree.
resources director makes a recommendation to the appointing authority to accept or deny it, and then if
That's
they
step
deny
3.
it and they're not satisfied.
Sorry, thank you for that correction. Sorry, you're totally right. Sarah used to hear these when she was at Human Resources. But it's not simple.
And I think a lot of people think that civil service covers non-union employees.
It does cover a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most people think that union employees aren't covered by the civil service. That's the branch that covers non-union.
Oh, I wonder if visually it would be really helpful to help people like, to convey that message. But like, I hadn't thought about that. Something to think about. Well, continue to share your thoughts and ideas with us because they're really helpful. And we'll keep you updated.
Well, good luck.
Thank you, sir.
I wanted to go back to a agenda item that I think we missed. It is number 3. And
Sorry.
that's okay. We're at the beginning of a new year. And so I wanted to just, for all of our benefit, and you know, we are so happy that you're beginning your 2nd term, Commissioner. So normally you would be like a new person in this seat, but we're lucky to have you starting your 2nd term right here in the commission. So I just kind of wanted to go over our department, how it operates, what each of our roles are, and how we work together to get the work of the Civil Service Commission. And I'm going to include the Public Safety Civil Service Commission too, how we work together to do this work. So some of this will be a refresher for you from 2024 end of year summary, but we'll imagine that we have a new person beginning on the commission as well. And it's always nice to get a recap of things you already know. All right, so thank you. Next slide. So we'll go, this is just our roadmap. Next slide. Okay. You've seen this slide before. We use it all of the time. I kind of wish that the bodies at the bottom, which we are included in, the civil service commissions, were kind of off in another universe because we are independent. And this is just to illustrate, you know, that we really report to the residents of the city of Seattle as well. The commission does, and the two commissions do. So we're not in the court, we're not city attorney, we're not mayor, we're not city council, we're somewhere out on the side, we're independent. Mostly like the Ethics and Elections Commission, really.
Is it the Community Police Commission or the Public Service Commission?
Well, the Community Police Commission is a different body. They're actually in the police department, so they're
Oh, okay.
not totally independent
So
either.
the civil service is supposed to the ones you're talking about.
I'm talking about civil service commissions, yeah. Yeah, we're separate and independent. We should make our own org chart here because I don't like this one, but. All right, thank you. And we'll go to the next one. So I'm going to talk mostly about our roles and functions today, and I'll keep it pretty quick. We have our commissioners, of course. You two are commissioners. We have my role. We have commission counsel, and you know, just as a point, you know, I'm appointed and supervised by both commissions jointly. And I am the appointing authority for staff, the Civil Service Commission's department. No reminder, I don't think needed, but I think it bears just like saying out loud once in a while is that the commissioners appoint and supervise me, and I appoint and supervise the staff of this department. All right. All right, so I did some reading in the code, the charter, and the rules, and I hope this is not an exhaustive list of all of your duties, but these are sort of the buckets of work that y'all do. The civil service commissioners hear disciplinary appeals, and also you all have jurisdiction over some other matters that employees may file appeals over. The code says, you know, that matters. But allegations of violation of the personnel ordinance, that's 4.04 Seattle Municipal Code, are appealable. And then there are specific things that are carved out, like classification determinations are appealable within the Seattle Human Resources Department. I'm not going to go into I'm not going to even go into any more things, but there are a lot of things that could be appealed. And you know, Commissioner Caesar's been here long enough to see some pretty unique kinds of appeals come through the
So I
commission.
have a quick question about that, just out of, not that I can do it anymore because I don't work for the city anymore, but are you saying that if a person appealed a reclassification and it was denied, that they could then take it to the Civil Service Commission? They
No.
couldn't, right?
In the olden days, they could before they changed the code. They actually have an appeal process in the Seattle Department of Human Resources.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's where it stops.
right.
Yes,
Yes. Yes, we have no role in,
I just heard you wrong.
yeah,
Okay.
I think maybe just one word. Okay, so you all also know that you conduct rulemaking, you sort of preside over the civil service rules of practice and procedure. Also, your authority includes investigation and like determination and allegations of political patronage, which is when a person, an elected and appointing authority, for instance, hires or promotes someone for reasons other than merit when it is a position in the civil service system. So the example I use sometimes is that when a council member comes on, they can hire, fire people in their office who are not in civil service positions. They can hire people who worked on their campaigns. They can hire their brother. They can hire their neighbor or whatever. They don't have to go through a merit-based process for those positions because those positions are outside the civil service. However, in SDOT, if we're going to hire a paving person, that is a position in the civil service. And so that person needs to be qualified to do the job. They need to do a merit-based hiring process and a competitive hiring process for that job. So if the mayor were, please, you know, hire my neighbor to be this paver, then someone might file a complaint of political patronage, and you are the body empowered to investigate and make a decision about that. Now, what I expect you would do, and what we've done in the past, is you would either delegate that work to me, or you would want me to hire an outside investigator.
Let's see, so that's a political appointee, having somebody hired in a civil service job.
Right. If someone tried to do a political appointment in a civil service job, that is a violation of the law.
Not a manager hiring your daughter to work in a department.
Well, no, that would be as well. Yeah. It needs to be a competitive process based on the work that is to be performed by the job. A manager cannot hire their daughter unless that person is selected through a competitive process. And hopefully they're the most qualified candidate to do the job. Wouldn't be a good idea either. I'm sure departments have internal rules about disclosures in any case.
When the term political turns me off, like it.
Yeah.
Be a political.
Yeah, it's more like not just political, but if it was political, that would be a violation of that rule. And I think that's sort of where it came from, is like, don't hire your your Republican friends or your Democrat friends or your socialist friends. But really, it's just don't hire your friends unless they're the best people to do the job. All right, the commission is also empowered to make recommendations to the city council and the mayor on the personnel system and the civil service system. Well, civil service system if needed, but generally the personnel system. And this commission, I think, has done that since in my time, we have done that. All right, and also jointly, you as a body supervise and appoint me, as we already discussed with the Public Safety Civil Service Commission. Any other questions I can try to answer about any of those roles? Okay. Teresa, will you move us to the next slide? Thank you. I'll just go over these more quickly. Very similar for the Public Safety Civil Service Commission. Their appeal authority is mostly over disciplinary appeals, serious disciplinary appeals. They also, at a high level, oversee and direct the merit-based hiring and promotional examinations for ranks in the Public Safety Civil Service. They also conduct rulemaking, and political patronage is also not permitted in the Public Safety Civil Service system. And jointly with you all, they appoint and supervise the person in my role, the executive director. All right, for each commission, there is a chair, an elected chair. That person has specific responsibilities under the code. Actually, this is from the rules. I'm sorry. I can't remember if it's the code or the rules, but these are their specific responsibilities. They preside over commission meetings, and someone can step into their chair role if the chair is unavailable to attend a meeting. They rule on parliamentary procedure. They also act as hiring authority and primary supervisor for the executive director. So what that looks like in practice for me is, like, if there were appointment paperwork to sign, Commissioner Caesar and Commissioner Green would sign it. And if I need a supervisor to consult with or work with on any particular issue, I'm going to come to you and or Commissioner Green, and we've done that too. And the commission chair may sign correspondence on the behalf of the commission if needed. So for instance, if we were to give written recommendations to the city council or the mayor, it might be the chair who signs those, or it might be the team might decide it's every commissioner wants to sign on to that person, something in that case. Any questions I can answer for anyone, try to answer for anyone about that role? Great. All right, this is so tiny, and I'm really sorry. So I'm going to look at my paper copy. This is the executive director's responsibilities. Most of this comes right out of the rules and the code, and some of it I added in there because it's just things I do. But the executive director is the general manager and executive officer of the commissions, each commission, and also this whole department that we call CIF. It is the Civil Service Commission's department. The executive director manages appeals for both commission. I do preside over pre-hearing processes. So I conduct pre-hearing conferences. I would do a settlement conference if the parties wish to do that. I set schedules. I would even hear pre-hearing motions and make pre-hearing decisions, which could even be a motion to dismiss, potentially. Hasn't happened, but could. I conduct investigations regarding political patronage and exam conduct. I have done that for the Public Safety Civil Service Commission. I am required to report to the commissions from time to time on departmental work. I do that here and also consult with the chairs probably most often, but other commissioners as they wish or as needed outside of these meetings. And this is like almost all of this is with support of this like absolutely incredible staff. This is the best team in the city. I told people that today. But we prepare the budget, manage department funds, and appoint and supervise commission staff. I do make decisions on classification of all positions in the public safety civil service system. We do that with a great deal of support from the class comp unit in Seattle Human Resources. And this is, I think, from the code, but perform all duties necessary for carrying out of rules, laws, charter, and other duties as assigned. Basically means if something needs doing and I'm the appropriate person to do it in this department, then I do it. And finally, direct merit-based public safety civil service exam program to enable the public safety departments to hire and promote. On the ground, you know, I'm making decisions almost daily about the operation of that system. There's probably other things, but I think I put enough words on this slide. Can I answer any questions at all for either of you or anybody else on that? All right. These are really more buckets than anything else because there's about 200 things that go into each of these buckets. But our staff, which has just grown, and I'll kind of wrap this in with our department update. But we just are putting the final touches on the reorganization. It's been like so exciting and so successful so far. I mean, it started in October. But our biggest buckets of work are public safety exam development and administration, communications, outreach, and external relations. And external, I mean both like external to this department with all of the other departments, Office of Intergovernmental Relations, and all of these other partners that we work with internally, but also to the public. We do, you're looking at the main day-to-day operations and administration folks in this room. Teresa and Sarah are like more than instrumental in just moving us forward. We support meetings and appeals. Teresa is, the engine that is running all of these meetings and all of our appeal hearings, which are incredibly complicated and logistically challenging, but she gets it done and does it really well. And just generally speaking, for both public safety civil service systems, we're monitoring and supporting like the organized and effective functioning of these systems. We like to think that we are anyway. We're doing our very best. And that means, having interactions with departments. Sarah's lead on that, making sure that all the departments are like meeting the requirements under the law, reporting their discipline to us, organizing that data. She's putting together an annual report that we're going to publish for the first time since 2013, I think. So a lot of really big stuff happening behind the scenes, but happening continuously. And, on the public safety side, we've got like a lot of staff that's not here in this meeting today, but monitoring what's going on in the police and fire departments, making sure we're meeting our obligations, reminding the police and fire of their obligations, having good relationships and cooperation with those departments so that it's just functioning well, I think. And maintaining relationships across the city so that we can do all that work together. All right. Thank you for paying attention to this whole presentation. It's longer than I realized. For Civil Service Commission, these are our main like external outside of this department partners. And City Attorney's Office is on here, major partner that we work with, our legal advisors. We have Joe and Ann on the line, and we appreciate them more than we could ever say. Other city departments, our other stakeholders, our new hires and current employees. We need people to know what their rights are and know what our services are to utilize them. We work with city labor. We work with our city labor partners. We have good relationships with all of them. And they're happy that we're here, you know, they're folks often first line of defense, but in terms of if they feel like they're being treated fairly, but they appreciate having another body that they can point to, you know, if you know, for example, the union member of the union disagree on something, hey, you have another outlet over here, you have another potential remedy, why don't you go check out civil service? So they're grateful for us and we're really grateful for them. Seattle Human Resources, I mentioned, a bunch of our team just came over from there. So we're separating that function definitely, not severing it, but just sort of pulling apart. They're going to continue to support us. And then their class comp unit is over there, labor relations is over there. They're really important for us. And the Office of Hearing Examiner. You all can, when appropriate, when you find it appropriate, to delegate a case to the Office of Hearing Examiner. So they're really important partners for our work as well. For public safety, we've got almost all of those same players on there. I won't bring them back in. I added the mayor and city council to the public safety, but they're important for civil service as well. It's important for them to understand that we exist, for them to understand and follow those guidelines for employees in their office, and generally support civil service in the city. And they're the ones who make legislation. For public safety, they're a little more focused on that because of the priorities in staffing our public safety departments these days. So they made this slide, and our partners are the same for the rest of us. So I won't make you hear me repeat it. Sorry, Teresa, do you all have anything to add to that? What I thought, what I think is a pretty good overview. Thank you all. Can I answer any other questions for you?
Well, I was curious on the public safety, civil service commission candidates and potential candidates. Do candidates have any rights? As it
They
relates-
don't.
Yeah.
No. Well, here's the right they have. They have the right to a merit-based process. They don't have any civil service rights though. There's nothing vested for them. But if they felt like they didn't get a job because they were a victim of political patronage or something like that, they could bring a complaint, or I'm not sure exactly what the word would be. Complaint would probably be a good one. So they are entitled to a fair merit-based process. And although they're not entitled to much more than that, we do interact with candidates. I mean, our team interacts with them all the time because they're the ones who are accepting the applications and providing the support. But for instance, we have veterans preference. We're required by federal law, of course, and state law to apply veterans preference to the passing scores of people who take a civil service exam if they would like, if they are entitled to it and they tell us about it. And we've had people, come and talk to me and talk to our staff and even talk to our commission about whether they were entitled to veterans preference. So there are certain rules that apply to applicants, but it's not that they don't have a vested right in their employment like a employee who has served a probationary period.
I have a question. It's probably not the right question at the right time, but it fits into this category. You're the director of this department, Civil Service Department, and it has grown. And I understand that departments have commitments to race and social justice. A qualifier or a quantifier, I'm not sure whatever it's used. And like I said, it wasn't mentioned on that. What is the score for the department or the potential score towards like outreach, for instance? Is there a goal, a set goal?
Race and social justice goal or?
Right. Yeah, because I understood that every department has
A score?
they have sort of their director as part of their overall how much
Philosophy.
electricity supply on time and so forth. That's one score.
Oh.
What's the other score? Their race and social justice initiative commitments to the department.
As far as how often they're using the toolkit to do different functions like their budget preparations and those kinds of things.
However it is used, like, I'm assuming the department decides what that is. I don't know. Or or given an assignment, or the department head decides what that is and works towards that goal.
I don't know about a score. I've never heard that before, the reason social justice.
And it may not be scored, but is there
I
something?
guess it's like an accountability or a work plan.
Right.
Like we do have performance evaluations. That would sort of be it.
Well, that's an interesting idea, because normally for a department head, the mayor's office would give the department head some sort of race and social justice goal, whether it's, most recently I recall that we had to use the toolkit in order, when we're putting the budget together.
Yeah.
And that was something that the mayor required departments to do. But since you're not actually reporting to the mayor isn't giving you yearly goals like that. That's interesting. How does that come about for you at the beginning of the year?
That's great.
Is it something we take out of the performance evaluation? I mean, we did a little bit of that this is my first time going through it, but we did a little bit of that on the performance evaluation. It was a little bit goal setting. But it's interesting that Ray brings that up. How do your goals as department head align with other department heads in the city, since you aren't reporting directly to the mayor?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that because I don't know what the other department heads' goals are. I'm not invited to cabinet. I'm not.
That was interesting. Yeah, I guess.
So I don't go to cabinet meetings. So I'm not sure how the executive branch does it.
It's funny because when I had lunch with Robert not too long ago, actually, and we were talking about the Civil Service Commission, and someone else at the table said, "Oh, that sounds like a nightmare." We're talking about the executive director doesn't report to the mayor or the council, and someone at the table said, because it was all our former directors who retired, said, "Oh, that sounds like a nightmare." And Robert said, "Oh, that sounds wonderful."
We're gonna get him up next. We're gonna get him in one of these chairs.
So he could relate to that very unique position that you're in. That is actually not a bad place to be, but maybe it is. Maybe you feel a little outside of.
I've never had it be any different. I started in the law department, which is of course its own independent department. I was an executive department for 1 year when I was at FAS, but I was far enough away from the appointing authority. It was Calvin Goings at the time. We definitely had RSJ goals, and if the mayor wasn't going to assign him to Director Goings, he was going to come up with his own. He was really on the ball director. But we do believe in and support and try to live out the city's race and social justice goals. We are very aware of and try to live out the goals of the Race and Social Justice Initiative. We've been a really small department until right now. So I think that's something that we need to look at and build in. But we do for the public safety work, we always look at our racial outcomes. And for our civil service work, it's a little bit different if you're talking just about the appeals, because we do look at demographics on our outcomes. However, since individuals choose to file appeals and their facts and circumstances are always unique to them, and our data set is teeny weeny, it is, when you have a really small data set, you also have the danger of drawing conclusions when you really don't have enough data. And so the way that we have always tried to live out and achieve our race and social justice goals, and also just treat people the way they should be treated, is in our processes. It is to make our processes accessible, to try to increase awareness for all employees about our processes, make sure we try to meet every employee where they're at. Obviously without regard to their, race, creed, age, or any other factor about them. The fact that they're an employee and they filed an appeal means that they are worthy of us going over and above to make sure that they get the process that they are due. That's our job. I can think of one instance, and I don't remember anything about this person's age, racial identities, gender, or anything like that. Actually, I do remember it was a man. But the person, since they had left city employment, had become homeless. And Teresa really went out of her way to ensure that person was going to be able, this was during the pandemic too, I think, was gonna be able to attend their pre-hearing conference, in the housing that they had at the time. So that's actually probably not, it is related, but just by way of illustration, we have always tried to make our processes as available and accessible to employees as possible. And yeah, we have some thinking to do, I think, in this next, whether we can set metrics. We've also used toolkits. We did a toolkit last year on one of our processes. It's like kind of a mini toolkit. But yeah, I think that's pretty much, and I'd love to hear if you all have that.
Yeah, CBO budget process does have a rubric for RSJ, so there is some analysis.
We do.
That goes into just finding for our resources.
Yeah,
Right, and they often require certain steps related to that.
yeah, and that looks different every year, but we do participate in that every year.
But I think this is also a good question for our conflict resolution partners, because they are also very small. And part of it is a question of resources.
Yeah.
You have a department that's one number.
Yeah, and those bodies are like the, what are they?
Civil rights, ombud, ethics.
Yeah, we meet with them quarterly to just sort of share ideas and strategies and try to help each other get the word out about all of our different services. Teresa, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
With the Civil Service Commission retreat, it was very race and social justice centered. The one that we had in 2020, yes. So we really started revving up and having the commission retreats, and so that was the beginning. So each of our retreats from that point on has been RSJI based, and our values that the commissioners built in 2020.
Starting in 2020.
Yeah, 2020, it was RSJI based. So on the website, you see the 4 values that are for Civil Service Commission. Each of the commissioners and the staff all came together to build out those values.
Yeah. And if Mary were here, she'd tell you it's really been an evolution, but it's been especially important, you know, to all of us. But I think Commissioner Whiteman-Williams has really taken the lead in having us look at racial equity and outcomes in our work. So I really want to thank her for that. Thank you for your questions and this discussion. It's really good.
So you added the department updates into the.
Oh. Yeah, that I did add some updates in there. So yeah, we're just fully functioning as our department of 10 now, of courtroom 3. It's great. We're the luckiest. We have a lot of exams on our plate this year. It's really, nothing slowed down over the holidays. It kind of speeded up. And we're just looking forward to a really successful year. I won't report the data on police applications, but they're double what they were the year before, highest since 2013. Really successful. This year will be more of a focus on firefighter and fire testing. So that's going really, I think, fairly well, working really well with the fire department. We've got a great liaison to the fire department who we work with. And yeah, this team's they've got a full book of business, but they're fantastic.
I heard that our fire department went to the Los Angeles area. Or
I heard a number of Washington firefighters. I bet some Seattle firefighters went. Yeah.
well, I wanted to, early on in the beginning, I wanted to take a personal privilege to have a moment of silence for the fire department, 20 hours and the work that they do to save lives and stuff on in Los Angeles. I forgot to put that in, to take that personal privilege, but let our partners know, public safety side, we love it and appreciate the work that they did. Civil Service Commission.
And I wanted to mention too that I don't have a budget report in this packet today. The 2025 budget has not been loaded into Questica or PeopleSoft. It is not accessible to us at the moment, which is why there's no written report here for you. But we'll have one, I expect, in February.
So we just postpone to next month.
And I'm happy to move on to the case status report if you're ready, Commissioners.
Yes.
All right, that is at page 6 of your materials and 7. And the only update is on our only live appeal, which is with the Office of Hearing Examiner. That is Reichenbach v. Seattle Public Utilities, CSC 2303002. And you'll see on page 7 that the hearing examiner has scheduled a third pre-hearing conference for February 4th.
225, is that what to say?
It should say 2025. I contacted them. They were going to send an amended
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
conference.
it'll happen this year, not last year.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it looks like that hearing is still going forward. But it has not occurred yet.
So that's all the investigative stuff, still in a third hearing?
That's a third pre-hearing conference, so they have not gotten to the hearing yet. I don't know what they're dealing with, maybe scheduling, maybe there's been some period of unavailability or something like that. I'm only guessing.
Thank you.
And that is all I have for you.
Hey. No business, I guess. Here for adjournment.
Second, let's do second.
Motion to adjourn. There's a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It is now 3:04 p.m. Thank you. Meeting
Oh, yeah.
adjourned.
All right.